Hello, everybody. This is Jason.
And this is Jeremy.
And we are from the Music Store. We have with us a very special, I was about to say guest, but it's actually technically not a guest.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, she is a guest and a contributor. We have Arthe with us today. I think we had mentioned a few episodes ago that we had somebody that was coming on to help us and actually fact-checking, which is something we've never done.
Right.
And she mentioned to me the other day that maybe we should fact-check.
Yeah.
Which we could maybe ruin the entire show if we actually did that, if there was anything true to what we say. So thank you for coming on and being here today. Could you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little quick background, and why on earth you would want to be associated with us?
Well, I've spent most of my career doing research and analysis, but in economic development and finance. But I've always liked digging into the intersection of history, business, culture, music. And there's some really awesome podcasts out there right now that are doing that and telling stories from different perspectives. And I want to be part of that.
That's great. We actually met at a children's birthday party.
Oh, you guys, you too.
We did, yes. We met at a children's birthday party.
Which is the perfect opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? I've got a podcast.
Yeah, you know, so they're like, everybody's like always worried about, oh, what are these kids, like parents liking? Like, of course, there's the one guy. He's telling everybody he's got a podcast.
He's got a podcast.
I know. It was slightly embarrassing, actually, now that I think about it. I did a good enough job that I
She's here.
She's here.
Yeah.
Captured her attention. So that being said, we've got some great stuff. She dug up stories and little things for us to talk about, especially in the days that we don't have an interview. It's always good to kind of keep our nose to the grindstone, what's happening in the world of music, globally, I might add, and also from a female perspective. As I admitted on a previous episode, I've been very delinquent in my inclusion of the sexes. We're gonna work on that. So we got a couple cool stories that she dug up for us, and one I'm going to have her lead off on is about the grand patron of all country music, Miss Dolly Parton. So why don't you lead us off on that story, Arthe?
Yes, Dolly Parton is launching a new rock album on November 17th, her first one. And it's basically a year after she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year.
I figure if I'm going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm going to have to earn it. I'm going zip-zop, zoom-a-da-bop.
Now, did you see that performance when she came out?
Is that the one she did with Miley Cyrus?
No, this one, she was introduced in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she came out and did a song, I believe it was called Rockin'? That's like the hook. And she talks about how even though she sings about the fact that even though she's a country singer, she's been rocking since the day that she was born, which I think was somewhere around 1850 or something. But I'll tell you what, for her age, she's a bad mamma jamma. I mean,
working 9 to 5.
She's working more than 9 to 5, or at least her plastic surgeon is. She looked absolutely great on this. She was in like a black latex leather rock outfit, but really kicking it. It's like she's a freak of nature. The amount of material she's done, music.
She's written so many songs for countless other, not just country artists, I think pop world too. That's the funny thing. You realize, oh my goodness, when we look at the liner notes, this is written by Dolly Parton. Could be a Madonna song, could be, modern song.
Well, one of the most famous one was the Whitney Houston tune.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So when that what was the movie with Kevin Costner or something, right?
Bodyguard,
right. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is Arthe's department here. She fact-checked for us.
Okay.
How many songs has Dolly Parton written?
Well, by her own estimates, she's written about 3,000 songs.
Wow. Writing 3 songs to anybody who's ever actually tried to write a complete song is in itself a feat, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like a muscle. You just got to work it. You got to put pen to paper and be like, I'm just going to write stuff down today. I'll turn it into a song later.
Where's your song muscle located?
In your cranium.
I think mine's in my rear end, but that's it.
This is interesting. Dolly Parton, who has been in the business for decades, you would think that she would jump at this honor, but she actually was very surprised and said she wasn't sure she deserved it, and wasn't sure she was the right person to get nominated. But then I guess the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame persuaded her, and she said, well, now she's going to have to record a rock album.
Wow. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so she probably thought that, okay, that's great. I like this accolade, and then, like you said, she had to be persuaded because that's funny that she never considered herself part of because country always kind of crosses over with rock and roll.
And I'm going to say, here's my thing. Modern country has actually taken over what rock as we kind of grew up was. Like, you listen to some like Big and Rich songs or some of these other guys, they're big heavy guitars, they're distorted guitars, they're big drums rocking. And it's kind of, in a way, it's like if Tom Petty like really got supercharged, and then with a little bit of twang, country took that over. And there's a lot of tunes that are classified as country, but when I listen to them, it's like they're really rocky hybrid.
That's funny
songs,
that you mentioned Tom Petty. You know what Tom Petty said he's quoted as saying about modern country music? Country music now is bad rock and roll with fiddles.
You know what I say? Sometimes I say country music is like kind of like R&B and hip hop for white people. They've just sort of gone out and culturally assimilated all different types of music, which is cool. Like, you want everything to be inclusive. I'm a little bit of a purist. Like, I kind of...
You don't like no honky-tonk badonkadonks?
Actually, guilty pleasure. Honky-tonk badonkadonk is a guilty pleasure song of mine. Especially Trace Atkins. Honky-tonk badonkadonk. He's got like the deepest voice of any human.
He does. He's as tall as a redwood, too. I think that's part of it.
Yeah. And I publicly would not admit that I didn't like honky-tonk badonkadonk, just in the off chance I ever met him, because we're so famous in the public eye. Right. He'd be like, you were... crap talking my song, and then he would just beat me up and eat me or something. I don't know.
He's a big guy.
He's a big man. We don't want to piss off Trace Atkins.
Okay, guys, let's get back to the details of Dolly Parton's album. It sounds really interesting. It's going to have 30 songs, about 9 original and 21 cover songs. She's collaborating with a bunch of different people, like with Lizzo for Stairway to Heaven, with Ronnie Van Sant for Freebird, and Baby I Love Your Way with Peter Frampton. Every Breath You Take featuring Sting, Open Arms featuring Steve Perry, Purple Rain, I Hate Myself for Loving You, featuring Joan Jett and the Blackheart, Night Moves, featuring Chris Stapleton, Wrecking Ball, featuring Miley Cyrus, who, by the way, is her goddaughter, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, featuring Pink and Brandi Carlile, Heart of Glass with Debbie Harry, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me with Elton John, We Are the Champions, Bygones, featuring Rob Halford, You're No Good, featuring Emmylou Harris and Sheryl Crow, Let It Be with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and special guests Peter Frampton and Mick Fleetwood. And that's just some of the songs that are on that album.
There's a lot to say about that. First of all, 30 songs is technically not an album. That's a double album.
Yeah, double album.
That's a double album. So, of course, like, the superhuman power that she is overly rocking it.
Well, none of them are original, and the rest of them are covers.
So now she's written 3,009.
That's right.
3,009 songs. The Freebird thing, I kind of feel like the jury's out for me on that one.
Yeah, we don't need to hear, because what's going to happen? What's it going to be?
What ground are you going to break with that?
Yeah, it's like it already broke ground with super long guitar solos. Like, what else? What are you going to do to it now? You know, make it bluegrass?
Yeah. Well, there is the pickin' I came home the other day, and my wife who's not a bluegrass person, was listening to like one of the pickin'-ons. Yeah. Where it's basically there's a series of albums where people go out and they do a Metallica or Poison or 80s band or whatever, and they'll do a bluegrass version of it. And actually, I think the true test of a good song is it doesn't matter what genre you play it in. Right. I mean, if you can play a bluegrass version of a song, you're like, this song kicks butt, and it was a metal song or whatever, or you start out as a jazz song and you can play it bluegrass, and it's a sign of a great song. A great song is a good song.
There's been quite a few covers that one of them was this Madonna tune that I heard Tommy Emmanuel, of all people, cover. I was playing it for somebody else. I said, this sounds really familiar. They're like, this is a Madonna song. When you brush away like all this 808, the digital electronic drumming and all this other 80s synthesizer mess, that underneath was a great melody and a great hook. And Tommy Emmanuel like countrified it. And turned it in like a ballad, and it was beautiful. Still, and the melody was still the original melody. So yeah, it's
good song. Is a good song.
Good song. Mm-hmm.
And then she's doing "Stairway to Heaven" with Lizzo. Now that one, I have to say, I'm kind of It's kind of how you like slow down on the highway to watch a car crash. Like I don't know how on earth that is going to go, but I would listen if I was given a choice of things like on a menu, and here are the Dolly Parton songs. Which one do you want to listen to? The Stairway with Lizzo, I might click on that.
I don't think I would.
Okay, well that's.
But hey, I'm not Dolly.
No, you're definitely not.
Well, it's interesting because she's got their original artists with Peter Frampton doing Baby I Love Your Way, another original artist for the other tune that was mentioned, well, technically not, but Ronnie Van Zant, the brother of, doing a Skinner tune, but yet she doesn't try to seek out Robert Plant to sit there and do Stairway with. She gets this, she's
Whoa, good point, right, Lizzo.
Lizzo, she's like a rap star, right?
Well, no, Lizzo's, you can do a whole show on Lizzo. She's cool. I'm down with Lizzo.
She's pop. Okay,
She plays the flute.
yeah.
She's really awesome, actually.
Yeah,
that I know. I know she plays the flute.
but that's interesting, right? So why would you not go Robert Plant on Stairway to Heaven?
Yeah. I mean, he's still present. He's doing his thing with Alison Krauss. He's been doing it for a long time. I wonder
Those
why.
are great records. I think they just released their second or third record.
I do remember him saying that he needed to let go of that song because he wrote it when he was 22 years old. And he goes, and people wanted to hear it, and now it's like the mid 80s. Yet they're out there with a new drummer, but he was like, I'm done with that song, man. I'm just done with it. I wrote it when I was 22. I'm not the same guy.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason why.
It could be, I guess. I'm curious to see what she comes out with, and I'm also very curious to see how well it's received. Now, on one end, if Lizzo doing Stairway to Heaven with her helps introduce kids or a new generation to Led Zeppelin or classic rock, maybe that's a good thing regardless of who's on it.
Yeah.
I don't. Anyway, another story that we've got, well, it's funny we should bring this up. Another bit of news about news, and I'll let Arthe read this off again, but tell us some news about the news.
Some news about the news is not so happy. One of the more recent layoffs in media is Paramount Global, which cut a quarter of its staff, which means that MTV News is no longer on the air after 36 years.
Wow. Who is that?
Kurt Loder.
I'm Kurt Loder.
Kurt Loder. That's right.
Yep, and he's apparently a Jersey boy.
Wow.
From Ocean City.
And they even with the state of MTV, they're still doing MTV News? Or they were?
I guess. I mean, I just remember MTV News like popping in as like you'd be watching a video and then there'd be like a 30-second clip like this from MTV. I don't remember it being like, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember it being like it's 5 o'clock, the news is on, and you watch a half hour of MTV.
Yeah,
it was very blurby.
Yeah, just kind of came in with whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's so many people remember stories breaking on MTV. What a sad day. I mean, I had a friend he's older than me, and he goes, I was watching, MTV was on in the background when he learned like that Stevie Ray Vaughan had died. They broke the story right there.
They jumped right in.
Yeah, they just jumped right in. So
now, of course, this all assumes that MTV was actually a music network. I think MTV fell off the music horse a long time ago. So I'm kind of shocked that maybe they lasted as long as they did with the news.
It's not like there's any shortage of news happening in music. You know?
Oh my God, it's nonstop.
Yeah, so it's a sad day. That's a end of an era for sure.
I probably haven't watched MTV in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I drew the line when I was in high school. It was TRL, and then like I'm 16 and have a baby.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Like I'm a 16-year-old baby hoarding, whatever.
It was just reality TV.
Yeah. Or a bunch of people in hot tubs like, oh my God, like you wouldn't like make out and stuff. Hey, you win the show. What show was it? I don't know. Some game show. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, the real world.
Yeah, there are certain things I will lament in losing in our culture. I don't know if MTV will be, but I gotta tell you, Kurt Loder was a solid guy.
Yeah. I enjoyed.
I mean, him. He was for real.
Yeah.
As I get older, my hearing is starting to decline, so I don't hear, as well as I like to. At least that's what I tell my wife. So when she yells at me and tells me to clean the dishes, no. But apparently, there's been a transition in the perceived loudness of our songs.
Globally, like overall, everything?
I don't know. I'm going to let Arthe tell us.
Yeah,
Arthe, tell us about the current trend in the change in perceived loudness.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are musicians, and apparently a big thing in pop music is the lead vocals are like front and center, and that's like popular belief. But apparently, these German university, this acoustic scientists did research for the past like 50 years of top Billboard 100 songs and Grammy-winning songs in country, rap, pop, and metal, and noticed that the lead vocals are getting softer. So they have this whole ratio called lead vocal to accompaniment ratio. So what they do is they take the lead vocals out, they isolate it from everything else around, and they found that rock, actually metal has a negative LAR, which means like the music is so loud, and rock has like a near zero, whereas rap and pop have more positive, like larger numbers because those vocals are front and center. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, you know who had a comment on that was Beck. You know where it's at. We got 2 turntables and a microphone.
Oh, yeah.
He had made a comment about if you listen at the lead vocals a little bit on the backside because the track is so pumping, right?
Yeah.
So if it's all vocals out front, it'll definitely change the energy. I mean, there's some songs that I think like you want to hear the vocals up front, but definitely, to me, when I'd be curious to see what you think.
It is a bugaboo of mine when the vocals are buried. There are a couple records where, whether it's how it's mixed or it's probably more of an EQ thing than anything else, but I don't like it when they're buried. I don't like it when I can't hear what they're saying. Not that the vocals need to be so far on top of the music, because then that always sounds like a schmaltzy, and not to throw them under the bus, but a schmaltzy Broadway recording. Because Broadway is like, well, we're all about the lyrics.
Yeah, nobody cares about the guitar player on Broadway.
Well, even when you hear a cast recording, I'm talking orchestra, doesn't matter what it is, everything feels like it's underneath. And it's the same experience when you go see Broadway live. It's the vocals are screaming on top of everything else. It's a very kind of like a topsy-turvy kind of a mix.
Well, it's a story, yeah, but they're doing this story.
Sure, but the thing is, if that starts to creep into pop music and rock music, I think that would be kind of a bad thing. It's tough. I guess it's a fine line. You gotta walk when you have that. Now,
maybe you should break that. Maybe you should come out with like a musical. It's all screaming guitars, and you can barely hear the singers, which will leave the story open to interpretation.
Yeah, there you go. That's kind of how Tool sounds already.
Yeah.
Tool, even though Maynard's such a good singer, it's very buried underneath all the... Now, Arthe, did the engineers discover that the music to vocal ratio is getting louder, or is it that vocals are being mixed softer, or?
I think they're saying the music is getting louder.
Huh. That's really interesting. Maybe because pop music has nothing good to say these days.
I would literally so I have 2 young daughters, and it's just nonstop in the car with like pop music, and time for me to yell, time for Jason yelling at clouds. I mean, some of the songs are just such crap, right? Like, and it's like, you're not singing about anything. You're doing the same nursery rhyme kind of melody over and over again. So yeah, I don't want to listen to you sing.
Yeah.
Might as well put the kick and drums in because I don't want to listen to your god-awful song.
Yeah, the millennial whoop.
I think it's even gotten worse than that. Anyway,
Yeah.
whatever. If they do the demographics for our listening audience, what do you think the slope or the
I don't know.
where is it going
Do
to
Gen
drop
Z
off a
kids
cliff?
want to listen to these 2 old guys yell about stuff?
Hey, listen!
Well, they do when they come into the store.
That's true. They like what we have to say.
Yeah, it's like there's a bunch of crazy old guys and then some wide-eyed youngins.
That's right. We're giving them pearls.
Pearls of wisdom, kid.
Now, my story begins in 1952.
I don't know how I feel but anyway, music's changing. On our final story today, we've got the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest apparently was held. Now, a few episodes ago, we did a thing on Ukraine. Now, last year, Ukraine actually won the song contest.
I'm unaware of this contest.
Well, so Arthe's going to tell us all about it. It's really interesting, and it's so un-American. It's very un-American in its bullet points.
Okay.
And I think that'll become clear as we go through a few of them. So, Arthe, give us some of the bullet points on the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, well, the Eurovision Song Contest is the world's most watched cultural event. So it's about 52 European countries that compete. And basically, this was started like in the 1950s by the European Broadcasting Union to experiment in live transnational broadcasts around Europe. And it's just become this huge event. Apparently, it's the world's most watched cultural event. I mean, the World Cup is obviously the world's most watched event, but this is like 180 million viewers. the host city organizes a Eurovision village. It's kind of like, Olympic Village. And it's a week-long event where there are like 3 big concerts. And the final concert was this Saturday, and Sweden won, basically.
Country known for producing some pretty big pop artists.
That's right.
Yeah, Sweden won. Yep, they won with the song Tattoo. And the pop singer was Loreen. And each country submits one original song that can't be more than 3 minutes, and the lead vocals must be performed live. That's pretty much the rules. So
See, that's very un-American. You actually sing live? For a television event.
Yeah, for television events, man, we're pretty famous for piping it in, don't we?
Yeah, I have to say, I think the Dolly Parton one, when she did the rock and roll thing, by the way, was like...
Piped in.
Yeah, and she had an electric guitar too, and like you could just tell when she did the big strumming in the intro, it just wasn't right. Didn't mean it was a great song, but it was just... I get it. If you're doing a big production... and you've got millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line, like you don't want to leave anything a chance. And I think that's what happened with the Super Bowl halftime. They're just like, we're just not even going to take a chance of actually people really singing live. And of course, the big one with that was the whole Mariah Carey Rockefeller Center Christmas episode that was a few years back. Remember?
Well, I think with that example, I think she's pumped in for certain things and she's supplemented with her backing.
Well, I think on that
right?
one, she like did a bad note. Unless I'm remembering that incorrectly.
No, you're remembering it correctly. It was that, but I think she's sort of live, and I don't know if there's a mixing guy, a disgruntled sound engineer on her, because that's the reason.
They all mixing engineers.
Well, there
are
you go, right?
disgruntled.
That's the reason why this whole thing got released, and apparently, like, somebody was able to get a hold of the master recording, and it's like, this is what she really sounds like today.
Yeah.
And apparently, that's kind of that whole.
Well, I think if
conspiracy.
it's a contest, obviously, if everybody's got, I mean, it makes sense that because it's a contest that everybody would be singing live. So that's really cool.
It's not only, it's a communications thing too, right? How they're...
Well, she said that they were doing it to try, just like test out the continent. Now, and this goes back a while because apparently ABBA, another Swedish group, had won that in 1974.
Wow. Okay.
So, and you know what? Actually, it kind of seems like a kind of an in-your-face, like Cold War era thing to do, right? For Russia to be like against like the Russians, be like, okay, we're going to test our communication networks. We're at the height of the Cold War. It's the 60s or 70s, and we're going to do it by Swedish pop songs. But I think that's really cool.
They have American Idol on a whole new level.
Yeah. One of the rules is you can't vote for yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah. Americans would never do that. Like,
yeah. I'm seeing here in your notes that we have one of the winners was Celine Dion.
Yeah, how is that possible?
1988.
And she's not from Switzerland, is she? I thought she was French Canadian.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, maybe she has dual citizenship.
Really?
Maybe she resided.
All right, while we're bantering, just Google Celine Dion birthplace because she's very French.
Man, Quebec is like
Quebec.
She's ours.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
I thought they owned that.
Oh, I got it. What happened was she sang for Switzerland, but she is a Canadian singer.
See, a lot of Americans don't realize that she had a career before she got huge in America. She's been huge in Canada ever since she was probably like a teenager, right?
Yeah, I think she was like an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and her producer was also her husband who discovered her, right? And she was, I know unfortunately he passed away, he had cancer or something like that, right? But this was, a lot of people don't realize it. So wow, back in '88, she was a winner of this particular
trivia question. Celine Dion's biggest hit was?
My Heart Will Go On?
I don't know.
Oh.
I was kind of hoping you would know.
It's a Titanic song, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
That's why I'm thinking.
That's what the Titanic song was called, is My Heart Will Go On?
My Heart Will
right?
Go On.
Something like that?
I don't know.
We're finding out right now. Yeah, I can hear it in my head. My heart will go on. Yeah.
But my ship won't.
No, the ship's gonna sink.
Is that bad form? I think that's bad form.
It was 100 years ago.
There was another really interesting thing that Spotify is having some real problems with their AI music labels that generated AI music, probably done by somebody who doesn't know anything about music. But so they generated music, uploaded it to Spotify, which took over, I think at some point, like up to 25% of the songs. And then they created bots that would listen to their AI created music, thereby generating royalty revenues from Spotify. So it's like, it's a hacking Spotify. Like, we're going to create music that doesn't really exist, and then we're going to play it by listeners that don't really exist, and you get to pay us Spotify record royalties or performance royalties for the pleasure of doing that. This whole system is like
now,
falling apart.
Could you imagine if it was actually being, if that atrocity was being perpetrated by all the people that are angry about royalty payments from streaming sites like Spotify? Like all the artists who are getting super angry about, like, saying, they're screaming like, hey, we're not making enough money from this.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Like, this is, I mean, I know a lot of people lately have been stepping up to the plate and saying that this isn't right and we're not getting paid enough. The artists aren't getting paid enough now that it's gone streaming. And imagine this is them, their way of getting back.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
There's a lot of layers to that cake.
It's like an onion. Yeah.
It's like the royalty thing is it's a rabbit hole. There's a lot of levels to that. We'll get into that one eventually. I think that leaves us pretty good that's kind of fills up our time with some little bits of news and things to talk about this week. We're going to have Arthe come back and fill us in other things going on in the music world.
At the very least, you can just keep us on track.
I like the idea of real-time fact-checking, where I can just spout some random baloney and she's got to look it up.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, it turns out you're completely wrong about that, but it was a good point.
Thank you guys, everybody, for listening this week. I'm Jason.
I'm Jeremy.
And you are?
Arthe.
And you're listening to?
From the Music Store.
On? IDK. You're listening to WIDK.
WBNJ.
Thanks, everybody. Listen to us on the internet.
Everywhere where you can get a podcast.
Yeah, wherever you listen to stuff. Thanks. We will see you next week.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.